Good evening. After 7 we'll be catching up on the latest on ABBA and also on the new musical Chess, because Bjorn will be my special guest. I recall meeting that splendid, fresh-faced bunch of winners from Sweden who called themselves ABBA. And I remember wishing them every success in the future, hardly imagining what that future might be. The most successful pop group in history they were, including the Beatles. 140 million albums sold, 70 million singles, 9 number ones in Britain alone. And add to that a huge business empire involved in everything from bicycles to computers. They were regularly Sweden's biggest foreign earners alongside Volvo cars. Well, the two couples got divorced, of course, and the group drifted apart. Unofficially, I don't honestly know what they're doing today and whether they're still together or not. We'll have a chance to find out, though, after 7, because Bjorn is going to be my special guest this evening. Meanwhile, this is ABBA in Spanish. It's called Fernando. ABBA, and that's a Spanish version of Fernando. Alvius, the second B of ABBA. Anna Fried and Benny, that's the first couple, and Bjorn and the blonde Agneta is the other. They always deny that they have split up, other, of course, than matrimonially. But it seems a long time since ABBA have done anything very much together. Benny and Bjorn, though, have continued writing, and their most recent project was the musical Chess, on which they've collaborated with Tim Rice. It's the story of an East-West clash of chess grandmasters fighting for the world title, and inevitably, I think, fighting for the girl as well. In true Tim Rice tradition, the album came out first, followed in this case by a European tour of the music that started about a month ago at the Barbican. How did it all go? Well, Bjorn will no doubt tell us in just a moment. But first of all, here's a lovely song from the score, sung by Elaine Paige and Barbara Dixon, which is called I Know Him So Well, sung by Elaine Paige and Barbara Dixon. It comes from the musical Chess, and Bjorn Ulvaeus, who wrote the music, or partly wrote the music, with Benny as my guest this evening. Good evening, Bjorn.
Good evening.
The album is out. You've had this European tour, so what's the reaction been so far?
Well, it's been absolutely tremendous, and especially in the territories where we've been able to do some heavy promotion. And that tour went very well. It went through, we started in London, and we played Paris, Amsterdam, Hamburg, and Stockholm in a week.
Did you take the LSO with you, and all the singers, everything?
Oh, yes, everyone. And so we had to move about 225 people, I think, every night from city to city, which was very, very difficult, but we managed.
But why did you do it? I mean, Evita did very well with just the album being released in advance. They didn't go to all that expense and trouble. Why didn't you?
No, well, I ask myself sometimes that question as well. But truth of it is that we felt it was the best promotion we could do, for one thing, and the other one being that when this thing comes into the theatre, it will be absolutely impossible to have that many people. I mean, you can't have more than perhaps 30 musicians or something like that in a theatre.
You just wanted to hear what the music sounded
like. Right, we wanted to hear it under the ultimate circumstances.
But what did it cost you for the privilege of hearing it under the ultimate circumstances? A fortune.
It was a fortune. Fortunately, we had a sponsor.
Oh, did you?
Yes, we did. Yeah. Which is a new thing, I think, for Europe anyway.
So you've tested out, yes, the European market. What about the American market? Are you going to test that one out, or are you just going to take a chance on that?
We don't know whether we can do the same thing. It's perhaps a bit unlikely, but we are going to America next month for a week, going to New York, Toronto, Chicago, and Los Angeles, I think.
You said when the musical is staged. I don't know if that was deliberate, but are you now decided that there is going to be definitely a musical of Chess?
Well, I mean, one shouldn't say 100%, but almost, very near 100 now, I think.
Do you have a book yet?
Well, when Tim came to us and asked us whether we wanted to do something together with him, he obviously had the storyline of very short one, but still, the synopsis was there, and it's become more and more elaborate while we have worked. And on the record is perhaps just 2/3 of the whole piece. So there are other things that we have written already, and you know, places for a good director to come in and have his views.
Because the story is jolly complicated. I was trying to just from the synopsis that you put in the program, it's extremely complicated to work out.
Oh, well, no, I don't think so. It leaves a lot to imagination, really.
But have you got any ideas about producers? I mean, has anybody come forward, like Hal Prince in the past, and said, I think that's for me, I'd like to have a go?
Yes, people have come forward and said that they're interested, but I think at this stage it's a bit too early to reveal any names. Because
Same with casting? Any thoughts about casting?
Same with casting. I mean, casting is very much also a director's choice. Obviously together with the writers, but I mean, if the director is unhappy with someone, I mean, you shouldn't press him, I think, if he's the right director. So the casting will have to be done together with the director, and although I hope that we can keep the majority of the original cast which is on the album.
Yes, it didn't happen with Evita, but that didn't stay from the album.
No, it didn't. It was quite different, wasn't it?
But you and Tim and Benny, have you all worked together before, or is this a first for you?
This is a first. We had never met Tim before. He was in New York in '81, and he met with a Broadway producer who he said, why don't you try and work together with the guys of ABBA? And of course Tim had never even touched on the idea, I think, because he obviously thought that we were very occupied, which we were, but he didn't know that it's been a dream with us for many, many years to write a musical.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And so he came over to Stockholm in the end of '81. We had dinner together and we discussed whether we could do a project together. But it took a year for us to make our minds up. And so by the end of '82 we seriously started working on it.
Well, you're a long way down the road now.
Yes.
Well, we've played I Know Him So Well. I'd like to play the anthem now. This is Tommy Körberg who's singing this.
Right, very good pronunciation too.
Well, it's the O ... you see. Yes. Now, this is what? Is he the Russian?
He's the Russian, that's right, yes.
And what's the anthem all about?
It's just after he's defected. He has been to a consulate or something, embassy somewhere, and he has announced that he wants to defect, and this is his feelings directly about his country directly after his defection.
Well, the anthem, that was Tommy Körberg, beg his pardon, anthem from Chess. Now, can we leave Chess for the moment, Bjorn, and talk about ABBA? What is the position with ABBA today? I mean, you keep on denying you've actually split up. What are you doing?
Well, we are pursuing our different careers, I suppose. Agneta's just finished her new solo album, and so has Frida. And we just finished this. But there was no formal split up ever. We just decided, that to take it easy for some time. Back in, I think, '82 or something. Yes, I think it was '82.
But you really see yourselves getting together again? Are there any plans for a new album or anything of that nature?
No plans, but I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, after we've done this, especially if this is put on stage, after that, I mean, we might feel the time is right again to do something together. It would be very interesting because a lot of sort of pop material that we have, which is half finished, but would suit ABBA better than a thing like this.
But aren't you sort of going in different directions? I mean, physically, geographically, aren't you living over here now? I read a rumour that you were going to live over here.
Oh, yes, I moved in this Friday.
Did you?
Yes. So, well, I mean, you have to see the fact that it's only 2 hours between London and Stockholm.
The Swedish tax regulations have finally become too much, have they?
Well, they're not the reason. I thought of my age now, and I would spend more and more time abroad, especially here, working. And I've always loved England. I've had thoughts for about 10 years to move here. And then the timing was absolutely right, so...
But Benny, is he still in Sweden?
He's still in Stockholm, yes.
And what about Frida? She came to London at one stage. Is she living here now?
Frida is living all over the place. I don't know where she is exactly now. It could be could be Florida, it could be Mallorca, it could be anywhere. And Stockholm.
What about Agneta? Last time I read about her, she bought a farm or something like that.
Yes, not a farm really, but quite a large estate. And she's in Stockholm still.
But you were all very well known before ABBA. I mean, you never came to our attention until you really were ABBA in the Eurovision Song Contest 10 years ago. But you were all sort of stars in your own right, weren't you, before that?
Yeah, that's right, yes.
So you and Benny were presumably the basis of the group because you write the songs. How did you two get together?
Well, we got together back in 64, I think it was. He was in a rock group, the biggest rock group at that time in Sweden. And I was in a folk group. And we were both touring a lot. And we bumped into each other on tour. And that very night, actually, we wrote a song together in my father's office at a paper mill in a little town south of Stockholm in Sweden.
Go on, tell me it was a hit.
No, it wasn't. I'm afraid not. And it's not one of the better ones.
And Stig Anderson, regarded as your sort of the eminence grise behind ABBA, the man who really got you together and promoted you. When did he come into the picture?
Well, in my case, he was in the picture from 63 and onwards. And in Benny's case, he came in later. Of course, he was and is a big publisher. And he could spot the talent in both of us, I think. So he, during the years, he meant a lot to us.
But as a group, as ABBA, had you had any hits before the Eurovision Song Contest in Sweden?
Oh yes, in Sweden and minor hits in Holland and Norway and places like that.
Because you really set out to win that contest, didn't you? As far as I remember, the record was released in Britain before you actually came over to do the contest, wasn't it? That's very unusual in those days.
Yes, well, yes, I think it was. And certainly all preparations were made for the record to be shipped the day after the Eurovision. But that was not because everyone believed that we would win. It was more because everyone in every territory thought it was a good record.
Yeah. Yes, you weren't favourites. I mean, do you know what odds were being offered on you? I can't remember.
I can't. I don't think it was the favourite. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
You didn't have any money on yourself?
Newton-John. No, I didn't. Benny did.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Well, anyway, it was a great start to your career. But what do you think of the Eurovision Song Contest now? Have you had anything to do with it since then?
No, we haven't. Nothing at all. And, well, I think it could be, as a television program, I suppose it's a very good and very amusing. But musically, it could be better, I think. What puzzles me is the fact that not more people try to be different from each other. They all seem to try and adapt to the what they think is the Eurovision format. And I think that's wrong. It's better to go and try to do something, completely different.
Okay, well, you see, often what they say is that people who are the top songwriters won't put the new song on the line in the Eurovision Song Contest because it'll probably get beaten, because it's that sort of a competition. Would you, as a songwriter, would you put up a song for the Eurovision?
Don't think I would, actually. And if we had been from this country, for instance, in those days, I'm fairly certain that we would have tried to pursue our career in another way, not writing for the Eurovision. But at that time, being Swedish, that was, I would say, virtually our only chance to reach outside Sweden, because anything that we had done previously, sending to England, I mean, they just throw it in the wastebasket. They didn't even bother to listen in those days to something coming out of Sweden or Finland or Norway.
Well, here
they had a good reason.
Yeah, well, Norway became a bit of a joke, didn't it? Anyway, here is the one that made us all sit up and take notice of the music that came out of Sweden in 1974. Yes, the song that took Europe by storm back in 1974 in the Eurovision Song Contest, Waterloo from ABBA. And you looked lovely in those costumes, I remember too, Bjorn.
I hated that gear. I'll tell you what happened. I was slightly overweight at that time, and there was a bus taking all the artists from the hotel to the hall, and I couldn't sit down. because I had to, because of those trousers. It was terrible. I was the only one standing up.
You look very fetching. But in the heyday of ABBA, you made a vast amount of money, and you moved into all sorts of different businesses, didn't you? I mean, are those still with you? Are you still into bicycles and property?
No, not anymore.
Paintings and...
Well, that was necessary at the time, you see, because being a high-tax country, Sweden, I mean, we just had to invest the money instead of just taxing it away. And so we got together a sort of organization, people who took care of that for us. And they went into all kinds of different businesses. But it's, it's wrong to say that ABBA did that, because we didn't.
Well, your money did, put it that way.
Our money did, yes.
There was an extraordinary business about bartering with Eastern European countries. Potatoes from Poland, wasn't it?
Oh, well, it was, I think, was it potatoes? No, I can't believe what. But I know it was, they were trying to barter in Russia oil for records, but it never worked out that way.
You never got any oil from them?
No, we never got any oil.
Because oil was, you did lose a lot of money on oil at one stage, didn't you?
Yes, that's right, yes.
And it wasn't the spot oil market you were in touch with?
Sure.
Anyway,
then again, it wasn't ABBA losing money, it was the people who were right.
But when you were in those days, did all four of you sit down and take all the decisions which related to ABBA?
To ABBA, yes, definitely. We did. But as for the other things, when it came to very, very heavy decisions, of course, we were consulted. But otherwise, most of the time, they just, they ran it as they saw fit.
But all the business ventures have now ceased, have they?
They have, yes.
And
definitely for me, because once you move out of Sweden, you have to cut all ties.
Yes. Did you find that really the business ventures needed the hit records to back them up, or were they really quite separate?
Well, they were separate, and they are definitely very much self-contained now. I mean, there are a few companies now. One is in the stock market, two, in fact, in the stock market in Sweden, and they're self-contained. But they were built up with ABBA money.
So nowadays you're concentrating on the business that you probably know best of all, which is writing music.
Oh, well, we did then too, you see. It's just that the money sometimes took over the interest. From mass media, that is, not from the fans.
No, right. Well, the latest venture is chess. Now, let's talk about timescales. We haven't talked about that. We've had the record and so on. When do you reckon that if you have a fair following wind, you might get the stage on show? The show on stage?
I was going to correct you there. Well, we hope October next year, perhaps. Some September, October, November, sometime like that.
And you hope to open in London?
Yes, definitely.
Terrific. We shall look forward to it very much. Bjorn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bjorn Ulvaeus, my guest this evening, of ABBA and also of the musical Chess, which is, as you will have gathered, on album. Also, there's a single from the album, and it features Elaine Page, and we'll end with that. It's a song called Nobody's Side. Elaine Page with the single from Chess, and that's called Nobody's Side. Now, after 7...